Welcome to the Drucker Forum Barcamp session. It's one of our maverick sessions, not the classic panel, but something else. Something else means for us, with the motto of the Barcamp, growth happens where there is access to opportunity. And this is what the session should be all about. My name is Isabella. I work with the Drucker Forum, and my task is to help the young generation get onto stage. And that's what we're going to do now. In the room, you'll find contestants from our Drucker Challenge. This is either young entrepreneurs or students. And the 10 best of each category are in the room and may try their luck and pitch for a talk. This is what we're doing here. The second cohort of participants here is talents nominated by their employers. From our talent award, there is a group of people who are considered high potentials and talents by their employers. So welcome to all of you. Let me get the housekeeping rules right for you. What are we going to do? We'll have 15 pitches. A pitch is, in our terms, because we are a short session and not a full day bar camp, classic type, a pitch is one sentence. Like basically the headline of the talk that you would like to give. We'll have a vote on the 15 pitches, and after that the 5 best voted will be invited on stage to give their talk. Each talk will be about 2 to 3 minutes. After that is no more voting, okay? So, not a problem. So participants in the challenge herewith have the next challenge. My recommendation would be only one. Typically, if you're given a very short time to give a talk, you tend to speed up very much. Okay? And nobody's going to understand what you say. I mean, you hardly understand what I say. It's too fast, and we tend to speed up, and this makes your voice and your message heard less well. So the recommendation is like we have time. You have a timer here when you're on stage, and you have a timer in the back. So no worries, nothing can happen. You don't have to gallop through your talk, okay? So I know that a couple of people have prepared and trained for the pitch. And I would just like to give one remark and start us off with a consideration by one of the founding fathers of the Barcamp, Charles Handy. And he said in a talk in his closing keynote 2 years ago, "How shall we reform our businesses?" And his recommendation was, let us start small fires in the darkness until the whole world is alight. And what I know we're going to hear today in your session is some of those fires, okay? We open. Who wants to pitch? Okay, please. You're taking the difficult route? Never mind. Okay. Okay.
Why companies and organizations need to become data-driven to excel in today's business ecosystems? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. What you see me do here now is record the topic so all of you can vote later.
Hello everyone, I'm Drenusha. Ecosystems need eco-leaders. So I would be happy to share how to move ego leaders towards eco-leaders.
Thank you. Bear with me, please. I'm typing less fast than the colleagues will talk. More? Yes, please. But you can queue already. I think I'll remove those chairs here.
My name is Sorin Suciu. I'm from Romania, and I will have a question to raise to you. Is the artificial intelligence the third factor of the ecosystem? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline and I want to talk to you about how to use neurodiversity in order to encourage innovation in your companies. Thank you.
It's all right.
Language is losing its way, and words are losing their meaning.
Hi everyone, my pitch is what should be our agenda for AI today.
Can you repeat? I couldn't catch it quite.
What should be our agenda for AI today?
Thank you.
It is night and we're alone in a room full of corpses. Trust me, we need this to learn what it takes to become a good manager.
Hello, everyone. How can a small business manager with limited resources manage absolutely everything in their business?
Please. Yes.
Hi. You can't read the label from inside the jar and what this means for ecosystem survival.
I'm sorry, you have to pitch again. I didn't catch it.
You can't read the label from inside the jar and what this means for system survival.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. Why specialization kills management? Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Sometimes all you need is low tech.
Sometimes all you need is?
Low tech.
Low tech, okay. So if I understand it, then hopefully everyone has also understood it, because for me the echo here is quite difficult. I haven't counted, but I guess it's okay. Yeah, I think so. Let me check.
Good morning, my name's Max, and I would like to talk to you about how can we teach AI to be trustworthy? How can we actually teach trust to AI?
We could take another 5. Any more? Otherwise, the chances for the first 10 are rather high, which is good. Some more brave pitches? Okay. You have anyway, right after, you have the opportunity to discuss and chime in during the discussion, so it's not lost. We have a microphone going around after in the discussion, and we have ample time for that. Okay, let me save our poll. And now I would ask you to take out your cell phones or tablets, whatever you brought, and go onto our Slido. And I'll switch on for you. Can you see the poll? Okay, cool. You have 1 vote. I will also vote. On the top to the right, you see how many votes we have. It's 15 only. Some heavy voting going on. So now we have 41 votes, still going up. I expect everyone to vote, okay? Peter. No. Oh. Still busy? Yeah, still busy. So if you type in or select your choice, there is on the bottom, there is still a send button that you need to press just in case. It doesn't go through automatically. You need to really send it off. 49 and counting. 52. Anyone still needs time? Are you done? Okay, I guess we're done. We have 56 votes. And I will read to you the five best voted. The first one is ecosystems need eco-leaders, create eco-leaders from ego leaders, if you remember. Then number 2 is words are losing their meaning. Number 3 comes neurodiversity to encourage diversity. Then why become data-driven? And the number 5 is what should the agenda be for AI today? I'm happy that our winner, a challenge winner, is also in the vote. So, do you have a wish? Anyone who wants to start first? Otherwise, I would call from the ranking, if this is okay with you. Okay? Then I would call ecosystems need eco-leaders first. Welcome. Your talk, your stage.
Hello. I'm Agile coach, and in last 10 years, I've been working a lot with the transformation. And this brought to my observation how it's the leadership changing. Since the last year, we have been quite challenged by the technology and its disruption. So it means that we had to do a transformation. So what came to my observation is that ego leaders are around, and in order to do the ecosystems, of course, we will need the eco leaders. But who are the ego leaders? Let's address it first. Ego leaders, you could find it everywhere. They will say, okay, Drenusha, you do the coaching, but at the end of the day, you bring me a presentation. Or they could say, okay, I have a decision, and this is a decision made for you. I have also a learning plan for you. But is it good that someone else is making our future and learning plans? No, of course. This is not part of ecosystem. Eco-leaders should be involved, interacting, collaborating with the teams. So how to transform, how to build the bridge between ego and eco? What I did as Agile coach, I usually advise to participate in the rituals. We use the Scrum, we use the Kanban frameworks, so I invite them in the stand-ups so that they be closer to the team. I invite them to brainstorm the ideas with the team. I invite them to share the purpose because the team wants to know what's the purpose of the goal, not to have a hidden agenda behind. So eco-leaders, to capture in one sentence, are team players. Less I, more we, this is what eco-leaders should see. Thank you.
Words are losing their meaning. The ladies are the winners here. Very good.
Words are losing their meaning. Language is losing its way. Peter Drucker, who published close to 30 books, knew about the magic, the necessity, and the beauty of words, sometimes gently guiding, sometimes attacking with brute force. Words, after all, are what binds the world together and what sets the world apart. Contracts, love letters, pitches, inaugural speeches all rely on the magic of words, carefully choosing each and every one of them and then arranging them in a successful succession. From preschool, where the first ABCs are sung, to middle school, where you have baby steps towards essay writing, all the way up to higher education, where the success of a paper does not only depend on the quality of the research, but also on your ability to convey ideas. Words are the most important stones that we have in our society. Peter Drucker commanded an army of letters and words, waging battle whenever he deemed fit. He wielded language like a well-honed sword, timeless and deadly efficient. Our arsenal of weapons is getting dull. Language is losing its meaning. Students need someone to showcase them how to polish their armor and brandish their language in order to become successful commanders-in-chief of their destiny. I call for a call to arms. I call for education on verbal warfare, on word alchemy, on Peter Drucker's approach to communication and writing.
Brilliant. Well done. Neurodiversity to encourage diversity, please. Your stage.
So I have a question for you. Who here in the room thinks that diversity and innovation go hand in hand? Can I see some hands, please? Yeah, so that is like most of the people here, and I totally agree with you, and I will explain you why. My name is Caroline, and just recently, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I had all of these questions, like, why am I not fond of small talk? Why do I prefer to really go into deep all the time? And why do I sometimes need to be all by myself instead of being with friends or surrounded by other people? Am I not social, like everyone? And it's just recently that I understood that all of this is because I'm an introvert in an extroverted world. And that's not always easy. As a child, for example, I was advised to go to a different level of high school because I might be overwhelmed by all the people in my classroom. Then later on, when I started my career, I heard more and more, like, you have to get out there if you really want to move on in your career. And even during one of the job interviews, I was asked, did you ever kick a bin? Because, you know, the candidate that was here right before you, he did that. And we thought, you know, it's a good way to, like, show your anger, show some leadership. Well, that's definitely not my kind of leadership, I can tell you, really. So, a long time I thought that something was wrong with me, but actually now I found out it's not. Like, it's because I'm an introvert in an extrovert world. And I want to help other introverts understand that and understand their own natural strengths that are out there, because I believe in balancing extroverts and introverts and using the strengths of both groups. Because we need both fast actions and introspection, boldness and a calm, like really sitting back and thinking about decisions that you're making. So what I want is to build a platform to encourage that, to help introverts understand themselves better, to embrace their natural strengths, and for extroverts to understand what introverts can bring to the table. That is my dream, that is what I want to build. Because I believe, actually, that quiet is a quality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done. Why become data-driven? Your stage.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Christian. I'm a technology enthusiast, software engineer, and a leader in my company's journey to become a more data-driven organization. And this is why I'm here today. I want to talk about why becoming data-driven is so important for companies to not only survive, but actually excel in today's business ecosystems. So data-driven in a nutshell means that you base your decisions on actual data and information rather than just taking a chance or relying only on your gut feeling. And data-driven can really be applied in two main directions. The first one is business development, basically making more money in different ways. Or the second area, which is becoming more efficient, generating the same output while spending less money. I want to focus now for a second on the first part, business development. And one perfect example of data-driven is having a 360-degree view on a customer. And this means more, way more than just knowing the first name, the last name, or an address. The real question is actually, where is a customer on his lifetime journey? When do we need to pay back student loans? When do we want to rent our first apartment? What do we actually want to buy in the near future? If we have the underlying data and the analytics capabilities to understand this, then we become truly data-driven. The question now is, how does this link to ecosystems? And the answer for me is, no company has to produce or provide all the goods and services on their own. We can share this. And actually companies can broker this information within their business ecosystem to leverage it and maximize customer value. Because in times, and we all know this, of Amazon, online shopping, Netflix and co, there is so many products and services that are so similar, but there are very little companies that maximize this customer value. I mean, one thing that we have to consider is the whole part governance and how do we manage our data. Gartner predicts that by 2020, which is just a couple of Christmas markets visits away, more than 25% of large organizations buy or sell data on formal data markets. So the real question also towards you is, are you ready to be a glass citizen, and are you ready to base all your decisions on data? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done. What should the agenda be for AI today? You see the winner of the Drucker Challenge 2019. Your stage.
Thank you. As we all know, AI is the buzz these days, and it's very common for experts and AI professors to be invited in the media. And it's like it's in the question bingo. They will almost always be asked that, what if we have super AI that takes control and doesn't give us back control? What are we going to do? But I think this misplaced fear, as Amy Webb described it, is driven by a misunderstanding of what is intelligence. So people confuse human and computer intelligence. So if a human achieves something and a computer is also able to achieve it, it's a different process. But since the result is similar, people think it's like the same thing. So they conflate both together, then they extrapolate and think computers are capable of thinking in this Machiavellian way, which is really, really far from what they are capable of nowadays. So, but there is another AI apocalypse that's already going on, which I think we are not talking enough about. Algorithmic bias, it's a very huge issue. Like just 2 weeks ago, there was the big news about a man that said his Apple Card gave him 20 times as much credit as his wife, even though his wife had a better credit score than him. Then AI is being used in all areas, for job, hiring, job promotion, determining parole, determining sentence length in the criminal justice system. What do we do about facial recognition? What should we, some states are using AI to enable surveillance of their citizens. Some companies are silently using AI to enable surveillance of their employees. What should we do about militarization of AI? So I think instead of talking about an hypothetical Skynet scenario, which I think we are overly fearful of, we should talk more about the Skynets that are already arming us and already discriminating against us today, which we are not talking enough about. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had 5 talks. I would have 2 more that we could take time-wise. Would this be okay with you? Yes, okay. We were very quick, very disciplined pitching. We have 5 pitches left, so we have time for more talk. The next one rated would be, is AI the third factor?
I would not expect it to speak anymore, but thank you. So, the exponential development of business ecosystems has been and is largely supported by the development of artificial intelligence. More than the increasing interference of digital technology in business ecosystems has practically led to the emergence of a third factor in the ecosystem, the artificial intelligence. It has ceased to be a simple abiotic factor, a resource within the reach of biotic factors. Nowadays, it can be asserted that this new factor is on the borderline between the 2 primary factors of the ecosystem. The continued allotment of impressive resources in the development of AI makes this ecosystem factor tend to turn into a biotic factor, which not only increasingly uses important resources, but exponentially changes the environment within which it operates. So the question that arises is, up to which level shall we develop this new ecosystem factor so that the balance, the basic condition for an ecosystem to stay functional, will not be affected? What will happen when this new factor, the artificial intelligence, has become a wholly dominant biotic factor? Will other biotic factors, such as man, still be able to preserve the same role? Or will we witness a reversal of roles in which man and other living beings have been converted into abiotic factors, the resource to serve this new dominant factor, the artificial intelligence? In my opinion, the solution lies in the responsible management of business ecosystem by altering the functioning paradigm so as to really avoid that the main purpose of their existence and operations are strictly reduced to deriving profits and only profits. Thank you.
Well done. One more we can do, if you want. Why specialization kills management? Yes? Okay. Slow, otherwise I won't understand you from here.
Thanks for this wildcard entry. So, why specialization kills management? Let me start this with a story. So, there was a bridge to be built on a river long time back. And a civil engineer was summoned, a wood artisan was called, and a metallurgist was invited. As time progressed, differences arose between all the three. The wood artisan claimed that X quantity and quality of wood is to be used for the bridge to be perfectly riveted, whereas the civil engineer argued that if we use X quality of wood, the bridge won't sustain for long. Finally, as the deadline approached for the project, a consensus was hastily arrived at, and the bridge was built. Now, moving forward a few more months, the bridge started to show cracks. And within a few days, the entire structure collapsed. So what do you feel? What was the missing link in this project? Yes, you all guessed it right. Specialization, being the sole driver of this entire thing, caused the project to go astray. The team missed a crucial link, a manager with a holistic sense of perspective who can view the entire picture in a holistic way. Taking the example of myself, I worked in an automotive components manufacturing firm, and I was in charge of a product which was a smart key in a two-wheeler system. I was deputed in the marketing department, and I only focused on the marketing of the project, whereas I needed to be in the heads of a project manager. I did not pay attention to the R&D stakeholders. I did not pay attention to top management perspective. And finally, the project went astray. It takes a lot of courage to admit this failure on this stage. So I would like to quote the example of Peter Drucker, who said, "Specialists always devote their time and energy to their craft and expertise. They are never committed to the well-being of an organization." Similar is the way I would all like to suggest what an organization becomes if its managers become specialists: master craftsmen at their own will, but losers as a whole. Thank you.
Beautiful, well done. Well, now it is your turn. I'm handing the microphone to my dear colleague. Thank you. The second part of our Barcamp.
Is the microphone working?
Yeah. Just a second. Hold on, Peter. The second part is dedicated to the audience, and you don't need to necessarily ask questions. You can make statements, whatever you like. It's basically what we all think about and talk about is now yours. You can also hand the microphone to each other, but it doesn't need to be questions. I want to make this very clear. It's not a Q&A. Okay? What I also want to do is I would like to invite all the speakers back to me on stage, because there just might be questions or there might be a discussion and you may be addressed. That's why it would be good if you're here and have a microphone to answer. Thank you. You just exchange between all of you, whoever is being addressed or wants to say something. First comment, Peter.
Yeah. My name is Peter Starbuck, and I've been a child of Peter Drucker's for 40 years or so. And my claim to some sort of fame is I've written 6 books about Drucker, and next year we'll have them all presented in a way that you can have proper access to them. That's now on the program. And we're sorry that our friend, what was his name? The previous speaker you quoted.
Charles Handy.
Charles Handy can't be here with us today. He's not in very good health. And this will be verified by Andrew Hill, who's a very good friend of his as well. A couple of comments from the presenters about the use of words. And it is so important that we get the words right. And as I've been going through my database on Drucker, one of the best uses of vocabulary was from a man called Herman Simon, who's been a presenter here before. And his book has been translated from German into English, but it's as good a use of vocabulary and words as ever. But just one other comment I'd like to make for you is that one of the lady presenters and the presentations have been most spectacular. Thank you so much for putting things into perspective for a different generation to yours. But the other one was the use of the types of people that we have, of the egoists and the pacifists. And what I'd like to go away with the thought is that it's the egoists that get things wrong, and it's the pacifists that quietly put things right. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, please.
Just a thought on the last speech about maybe we could trust also all our specialists and put some trust in them. Maybe it was in the past that we didn't allow to think more holistic. But when I go back to the talks we had the last 2 days, then there was always saying people are smart, they know, and let them give them freedom and empowerment, and then also our best specialists are able to think more global, believe me.
Thank you. That could maybe relate also to the first talk, that collaboration of specialists also bring
values, yeah.
Value.
Then one of the key success factors is collaboration, because you have many hands, but one mind, because you bring all of the ideas together, and the possibility to shine and to have the best of the best is always there. So the future leaders should definitely have the competencies of interaction and collaboration, and integrate the teams and be present with the teams. Instead of being in the offices and asking for the presentation and have formal meetings, my suggestion would be always be present next to the team and be active listeners. What are their needs? What are their development needs for the future? Instead of imposing managers or leaders' solution, because it isn't fair, as I mentioned even before, that someone puts you a development plan without asking you what are your needs and where would you like to be in next year, for example. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
So then, like in the book range, some problems are described as being wicked, and some problems are described as being kind. So I think what the author specified in that book was that for kind problems, specialists are better because they can draw on their experience. But for wicked problems, generalists may be better. So we still need specialists, and we need generalists too. So we need them to work together.
Thank you. Some more statements from the audience. Come on. Andrew, can I ask you? Do we get the... Yeah, please.
I'm Andrew Hill. I work for the Financial Times. So I just want to say, as a writer and author, congratulations to everyone who took part in the essay challenge, because I know that it's hard work, and as one of the presenters said, honing the right words for an essay is something that's a real craft. So congratulations on that. Cannibalizing a little bit what I'm going to say in the session that I'm chairing after lunch, the thing that seems to me to link, appropriately enough, all the talks is this sense of connectedness and collaboration. I don't much like the term ecosystem. I've tweeted a bit about that, and so I'm not going to use it. I'm finding it useful to take off the eco and just think of it as systems. But there is a great sense here, I think, of the sort of connectedness that you're drawing out, both the value of collaboration, the fact of being here together as a group with this wider group, and the ability to think of problems as more easily solved by diverse groups who are seeing the links between them. And I think this also links to the AI question, or at least to the data and digital question, because as we've heard in these presentations and in other presentations, digital is enabling some of these connections. So I hope that there is a more utopian rather than dystopian outcome from AI in our companies in the way that it makes it easier for groups across continents and across disciplines to connect with one another for wider benefit. So thank you for stimulating some great thoughts.
Thank you. Some more? Our other challenge winner? Would you like to chime in? Yes, please. No. Please.
I really don't know what to say, to be honest. I love the pitches. We heard some of them yesterday when we had your bootcamp on pitch sessions. For me, I connected very deeply with what Carolis said, because that is a very human experience that I think many of the people in this room also experience. So I'm still thinking right now about like the human side, their artificial intelligence, the idea that with the years going on, we have to become more and more humble and vulnerable and human. And there was a nice saying from John Maynard Keynes. He kind of predicted that with time going on, we will not have to care about many of the mundane tasks that would be taken by artificial intelligence, even though he didn't know the term yet back then. And the problems of the heart would take the first stage. So thank you, Carolis. I think I will be pondering your speech for like an hour now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You heard the second Drucker Challenge winner. So we have both winners contribute. Hans.
So my name is Hans Stoiss. I'm from Vienna, not far from here. I have just a question, from another generation, maybe a pre-word for that. I think it was very right what the president, the ex-president from Singapore said. We do not have to worry about the younger people. Yeah, we have to worry about the 40s and 50s generations. No, but my question is, I take this words are losing their meaning as a sort of meta topic of what your essays, your pitches have been about. And my question is, how does it connect to the others? Because I think this is quite interesting. To specialization, because of specialization, AI, and so on. I think there's many things in it. Thank you.
From my perspective, thank you for the question. Words are what connects everything. I mean, in the end, we wouldn't be able to share our ideas without words, and you wouldn't have voted on which ideas you wanted to hear without the words. And we said it, we need the human and we need the digital, or we need the artificial, and in order for us to communicate and to spark ideas and to ignite and to create, we need words. And they're essential. They're the building block and the single smallest molecule that everything else is built upon. And this is why I emphasize the necessity of being able to properly communicate them and to spark not only ignite not only inside yourself, but create a flash fire across countries, companies, colleagues, friends, teams. I hope that answers the question.
I think that's a very timely topic. We have a next speaker here. Yeah.
This topic also resonates very much with me, because I think we all, and all generations, we now have to live in this ambiguity. On one side, everything becomes short and digital, and on the phones we use icons. We do not even say I love you, I send you a smiley or something. And on the other hand, we learn that innovation and solving the challenges ahead will only be able in good communication in between different cultures and so on, and then the words will become even more and more important. And how to handle this, this is the ambiguity and challenge we have.
And I mean, if you look at youth culture, we all know that languages are arising. There is a youth word of the century. And one of the biggest words that are currently used on Tumblr, or like abbreviations that are used on Tumblr and all these platforms that kids, I feel old, but really kids, are on, is the abbreviation TLDR, which stands for too long didn't read. And it kind of showcase too long didn't read, which kind of showcases the way language is deteriorating to a certain extent and the laziness that we experience, which is why I feel that especially in universities, we need to enable students to properly communicate their ideas because they are the future.
I just want to share one thought about why are we so attached to labels and categories? Because you did not change from before you knew you were introvert to after you knew or you found out that you would be much more introvert. But as soon as you knew, you felt way more comfortable, I assume, right? So what I wonder about is why do we give so much power to categories? What does it help us? Does it help us to get not overwhelmed by all the impressions we have? And why do we feel much more comfortable now? Because as a person, I assume you didn't change, right?
That's a good question. I guess what it did for me was that a long time I thought it was just my problem. Like very, very typical for me. And then when you learn more about yourself and you get to know like there are more people like me, that actually helps you to see like, hey, maybe we could work together, like help each other in accepting that and then looking for what are your actual strengths. That is what it did for me actually.
Someone else would like to reflect on? Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's a feeling of security. You know, you have a home and a family that think alike. I mean, we see it across all the labels that we currently have. The people who are LGBTQ+, that say we have our family that we picked, not the ones that we might have and that don't accept us for who we are. So I believe finding your family and giving yourself a label empowers you to communicate who you are and to be proud of something that others might see as not necessarily a feature to be proud of. And that's, from my perspective, probably the idea of the secure blanket of there's others like me. I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm. The colleague on the far right and then his neighbor.
So
yes.
I'm just trying to answer to your question why we are so attached to categories and labels. So I guess neurobiology gives a good answer for this because that's related to how Western and Eastern civilizations grew. Because in Western civilization, we are always used to categorizing things. That's why logic, induction, and deduction, they all started with Greeks. Whereas inner peace, spiritualism, that started in the East. Because in the East, because I am from the Southeast Asia, so we don't categorize things into, we see things as a whole. So I believe the answer lies in that.
Interesting.
Yeah, you also seem to have some kind of engineering background, right? Yeah, because I was exactly trying to make the same point here. It makes things tangible, it makes things less complex, and it helps to abstract and get a very precise view on things. So that's why we like to give things labels, right?
Okay. Yes, we have one more question. Another one. Oh, now it goes. Colleague with the microphone is on the way. Okay, brilliant.
If I can
speak.
Maybe just go ahead. Maybe something that links to the previous topic of language. You know, categories and language help us understand the world. So, like, categories basically is a form of, like, sorting the world just as language is. That's why, like, we're all from different backgrounds, so maybe you know that sometimes in your native tongue you have a word that is untranslatable to other languages, and then you start going around and try to explain it, and the other person just gets lost in translation. That's why I think while sometimes putting label on things are very bad because it's just judgmental, other times it just really helps you like feel more secure and try to bring your point across. And another thing I want to add, everybody seemed to be really touched by your speech, Annika, about the language. There's it's a fictional letter by Hugo von Hofmannsthal, who's also from Vienna, I believe. It's called The Letter of Lord Chandos. It's from the early 20th century, like 1902, I think. And it deals with how the language loses its meaning, and you have to, we need something new, and have to kind of put a new fire into the language. So I highly recommend everybody to read it if you have time. It's 15 pages, I think. So you can find it online. I'm pretty sure it got translated into English. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Just to stick with the topic, don't you think that with all the perks and benefits that we get with the new technologies, it inevitably leads to the deterioration of the power of the word? So for example, I'll just be really specific. It's really common to see that, you know, friends are sitting at cafe and all you see that all four of them are basically overconsumed with the mobile phone. It seems like they don't even communicate anymore, or at least in the traditional form of way.
So there's actually a very simple way to go around that. What I do when I'm out with my friends, we turn all our phones the other way around on the table, and the person who turns his around first to check it has to pay the next round of drinks. So that's how you approach that topic. But I mean, there's always two sides. There's e-readers and Google Books, which enable us through digitalization to have access to words that we might not have. We heard a nice talk today about the fact that a lot of people still don't even have internet globally. On the other hand, yes, the smartphone makes us well connected, but also helps us losing friends that we would actually interact. I mean, I'm still from a generation where you made a phone call with your friend and you made an appointment and you just held it without texting 15 times whether or not you were going to make it. So I agree to the point, and this is also why I believe, especially the digital native generation that really is born with a thumb on their smartphone, needs to be taught how to properly communicate.
And again, there is an engineering side to this, because companies like Facebook, or basically any large company that develops applications that have a direct user interface, they have their own dedicated departments that statistically analyze what kinds of visuals have the highest release of dopamine then in your brain, which basically means they are kind of like Heisenberg when he tried to cook meth in this one TV show. So they try to figure out a way that gets you actually hooked. So it's not only a component, or it's not only us as the consumers that have to figure out a way, and I like this example very much of flipping the phone. But it's actually, at some point in time, we have to talk about a certain corporate social responsibility. What is, from an ethical point of view, still okay to be explored and to be done to get people hooked? And there are other examples like microtransactions, which is basically gambling, where many people are already addicted to it, and people who use their smartphone and can do microtransactions within applications to get a pink star instead of a green one, and these kind of things. Yeah, so I think it has also a very strong ethical component, and at some point in time we need to start regulate also industry leaders in these aspects.
It seems as if we were integrating all the talks slowly, right? It's the collaboration by words and the ethical part and the system thinking and integration and diversity. So somehow it all comes together, right? Well, I don't know. Dorata, one more? Yeah.
I own a book business, so obviously I love text and languages dearly. But for our late social media marketing campaigns, I had to really go into like visual strategy because I was such a newbie to that. Like I understood how texts work, but you know how to create good videos and stuff that it would be riveting for the Generation Z. I had no idea about that, and the more I read, the more I felt like maybe language is dying off in the way that we know it now. Maybe as a humanity we are coming back to the age when, you know, like I don't mean that it's a regression, but remember the age when we thought in images, like the cave paintings and stuff. Maybe that is what is happening right now, because for me, it is a lot of the times easier to communicate with images, say emojis or stickers in messengers. Like a lot of the times, conversations with friends, it would be all like stickers and GIFs and memes. So I was wondering what you think about that, and maybe that's okay. Maybe we should learn that new image language.
I mean, the Egyptians were a great people and they used hieroglyphs, so it can't be all that bad. However, they died out. So, I mean,
okay, wow. It's a rough one.
The language is dead. I mean, who of you can read hieroglyphs? None. But who of you can read a succession of emojis and guess which movie it was? I guess everyone. So we're re-evolving towards that direction. I fully agree. However, getting a point across when it comes to creativity, when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to business, you can't publish a paper with emojis. You can't send a text to Harvard Business Review with just imagery. And there is still a valid need for proper written words, and it is, especially in this context. It's different when you communicate with friends on a leisurely basis as opposed to the place where innovation has and needs to happen. And there's two different paths from my perspective where we're drifting in when it comes to language. One of them is the one that you just mentioned. And of course, we still say an image says more than 1,000 words, but it's still not the only way that we can communicate as a global people, as humanity.
Thank you. If I may add to your conversation, I think the pictures and emojis are used mainly for international conversation, because if you send a heart to someone, everyone will understand no matter what language do they speak. So it's also for the advertisement. If you put the campaign here in Vienna and you don't put the image, which I'm not a German-speaking language, I will not understand what's about. But if you put an icon or a picture, I might understand what is it.
Okay.
I might quickly add to that. One of my fellow challenge finalists today, when we walked here, asked me, I've read the word Wien a lot, W-I-E-N, what does it mean? I said, well, that's Vienna. No, Vienna is Vienna. So we even had the problem of the city not even being necessarily understood by international people. So I fully attest to that. An icon would have probably been easier understood.
Thank you. I'll take one more statement, please.
Thank you very much for your presentations. I've got a question for all or one of you. It's about how optimistic or otherwise you feel about the future, and whether the education you've had to date you feel is equipping you for the future, or are you going to have to unlearn what you've learned and relearn something new? So it's just how you see the future unfolding for you.
Thank you. Beautiful question. Thank you.
So maybe I'm going to quickly jump on it because I have the microphone in hand and because this is my PhD topic. So I hope you all have a few hours. No, overarchingly, I believe that there's hoops that you have to jump through to have a bachelor degree, to have a master's degree, but there is a huge discrepancy, especially in management, between the theory you get taught and the practice that you have. So a lot of us probably, if you asked them how many % of what you learned at university are you actually applying to your job, it's not a high number, and this is stats that are researched. So the question is, how do you bridge that gap? And it's about knowledge transfer, and it's about having meaningful practitioner knowledge implemented into academia. Currently, a problem that we see frequently is that academia answers questions that management didn't ask.
Myself, I'm quite optimistic, and referring to yesterday's conversation with Caroline, as she mentioned, the legacy should always be kept and parallel build something new and the bridge in between. So it's same with the learning. We have learned something, but we will enrich that with the experience and with the new things, and by challenging ourselves in a new way. Because only when you're challenged, you are learning something.
Here we have one more. Please.
I think one of the things I would have liked to learn earlier is dealing with uncertainty, because that is really something that's very important at the moment. And I think the way our schools are like doing their lessons right now, it's all structured and everything is like predictable. But like the world today, it's not predictable anymore, so we should get comfortable with that. I think that is like the most important lesson we should learn.
Thank you, that's lovely. I think we all deserve this one. Thank you everyone for an awesome session. Really went to the heart and to the mind and everywhere, basically. We have a gift for you, for the young generation. Our founding father of the Barcamp, Charles Handy, and the Drucker Forum provided this book, the latest book of Charles Handy for you. It's 21 letters on life and its challenges. And maybe you find some more of the inspiration and direction that you're already in this book. And it's for reading and for the heart. And please take it. My colleague will hand you your book when you leave. And I'm also here to advertise the next session, which is also a Maverick session. We'll have the question, beating AI with Mozart. And the answer is yes, and please stay in the area. We'll start in a few minutes in this forum. And now I'm to thank everyone, and especially our speakers and the young talents. Thank you very much.